Hello everybody and welcome back to a new episode of Let's Build, where I build it and you guys take it out and make it your own. At least that's the principal idea here. So all the way back in 2008, in Light of Destruction was released the Lightsworns, an archetype that has proceeded to come in and out of meta relevance since its inception. It's always been a strong deck in the casual field, but now it's gotten in and out more meta relevance with cards coming out to make them better and better, including a structure deck. So, what makes Lightsworn so much more interesting than other archetypes? They're a self-milling archetype that can special summon cards from the graveyard or gain more attack points based on the number of cards of different Lightsworn names that are in your graveyard. So, without further ado, without going into a long spiel about the Lightsworns and how great they are, let's build our Lightsworns. No throwing cards this time. I hope. Alright, wasn't that fun, guys? Got to enjoy some wonderful, wonderful games there. Some pretty close ones. Especially the mill. That one was real close. So, we are going to play 3 Judgment Dragons, 1 Celestia Lightsworn Angel, 3 Wolves. You're going to play 1 Gareth, 2 Raidens, 2 Lilas, 3 Perform Mage Trick Clowns, 1 Aaron, 2 Dawn Knights, 2 Felices, 2 Perform Mage Hat Trickers, 2 Lightsworn Summoners, 2 Minervas in her young form, 1 Shire Lightsworn Spirit, 3 Solar Recharges, 1 Reinforcement of the Army, 2 Terraformings, 1 Monster Reincarnation, 1 Foolish Burial, 3 Charge of the Light Brigades, and 2 Realm of Lights. That's it for the main deck. And now going over to the extra deck. You have 1 Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend, 1 Psyframe Lord Omega, 1 Michael the Arch Lightsworn, 1 Clearwing Synchro Dragon, Utopia the Lightning, 1 Tornado Dragon, 1 Babushka the Terribly Tired Tapir, 1 Number 101 Silent Honor Arc, 1 Castel the Sky Blasting Musketeer, 2 Minerva the Exalted Lightsworn, Adult Form, 1 Gagaga Cowboy, 1 Curious the Lightsworn Dominion, and 1 Hippo Shinnigan. So as you saw in the replays, this is a beat-down rank 4 toolbox style deck. You're going to swarm the field with level 4s, and then either go into an Xyz or a Synchro play, or proceed just to attack your opponent and beat them down. To accent this is why we are running the Judgment Dragons. For 1,000 life points, they can wipe the field of all cards. And they are special summonable by having 4 or more Lightsworn monsters with different names in your graveyard. Another reason why we are playing some of the not-so-good Lightsworns. Lila, Celestia, and such. They're kind of in there to help diversify the number of names while we're milling. Cards like Terraforming are in there to help get out Realm of Light, which can boost up your attack power, but more importantly is going to thin your deck. By thinning your deck, you are more likely to mill your more useful cards, such as Felis, if it's a by monster effect, or Wolf by any effect. Wolf is one of your primary playmakers, and one of the cards you're going to want to see never in your hand, but in your graveyard as much as possible, because when he is sent there from the deck, he special summons himself to the field. Felis does a similar thing, but there's some critical differences between the two. Felis is a 4-star tuner, which is great, but she only special summons herself if she's sent there by a monster effect. This is a crucial problem when you're using cards such as Solar Recharge and Charge of the Light Brigade. You can also not foolish her out onto your board. But that does give us access to rank 4 plays, or not rank 4s, obviously rank 4s, synchro plays such as Scarlight to help you if your opponent special summons a massive board, Omega to disrupt your hand if you go first, because this deck doesn't have very many good going first plays. Mostly it's going to be setting up stuff like Babushka, or using Omega to rip a card out of your opponent's hand and hopefully disrupt them. So you're going to be trying to mill as much as you can to get as many things in the graveyard. Perform Mage Trick Clown, whenever he is sent to the graveyard, you can pay 1,000 life points to special summon a Perform Mage monster in your graveyard. Its attack and defense becomes 0. You can only use its effect once per turn, but you can get out more rank level 4s for your ranks, or to go into your links. Perform Mage Hat Tricker is also a level 4, that if there are 2 or more monsters on the field, you can special summon him from your hand. He has some other effects, but we don't care because the main point is to special summon him to go into your rank plays or your synchro plays. He cannot go into your links though. That is something to pay attention to. He is an Earth attribute, and both Hippo Shinnigan and Curious require light attribute monsters. Technically, Curious doesn't. He requires 3 monsters of the same attribute, but different types. your deck is composed of light monsters, so Perform Mage being an Earth does get in the way. A little bit on that, but he can go into any of your ranks or your synchros. Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon can be played using Minerva. Honestly, you don't go into him that much, and if you're looking for something to clear away some space in your extra deck, Clear Wing is a exceptional option. So, a tech card I was trying out, and I found that I've really liked, and would probably actually bump to 3, is Dawn Knight. If he's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can send one light monster from your deck to the graveyard, basically allowing you to tutor Wolf or Felis and load up your board. Or, of course, you can send Perform Mage, Trick Clown. Any of those 3 will work, or if you're one short of a name, you could send something with to get out your Judgment Dragon. But as you saw during the replays, this card saved me, because when this card is sent from the deck to the graveyard, you can target a light monster in your graveyard and place it on the top of your deck. This can allow you to put Wolf on the top of your deck, and then at the end of turn, as we all know with Lightsworns, a lot of them have an effect that makes you mill. You will mill the Wolf and be able to summon a 2100 beater back to your board. So let's go over some of these one-of Lightsworns. Celestia, if you tribute her, you can send the top 4 cards of your deck to the graveyard, then target 2 cards your opponent controls and destroy those targets. It is useful, and you can special summon to tribute her out, which is why I ran her, and she is a different name. Honestly, you could easily substitute her out for better cards. Gareth is kind of in the same boat. He just mills more of your cards when you mill. I believe... Yeah, each time a card is sent from your deck to the graveyard by the effect of a Lightsworn monster you control, except him, send the 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard, then you can draw a card for each Lightsworn monster sent to the graveyard by this effect. It's okay, but you're basically summoning an 1850 beater to try to sit there and give you card advantage, and a deck that can generate its card advantage without that. Raiden, though, is a level 4 tuner that during your main phase can mill the top 2 cards of your deck, and if any Lightsworn monsters are sent to the graveyard by this effect, he gains 200 attack, giving him a little bit of beating, but again, he's more there for synchro plays, and he facilitates the milling. You want to facilitate the mill. This deck cried losing that grass looks greener. I guess this is going to be a trend now of me forgetting card names, unfortunately. Lila can help you deal with some spell traps, but again, she's going to take up your normal summon, and she doesn't mill until the end of the turn. If her effect caused milling, she would be way more playable and way better. Erin is another one you can easily cut. She's just in here for a little bit of name diversification. Because when she attacks a defense position monster, before the damage calculation, you can shuffle that monster into the deck. Then during the end phase, you would mill 3. But as we all know, in the modern game, you're not going to run into a whole lot of defense position monsters. You will on occasion, but not many. Most people are only going to summon in attack mode, and especially with Link monsters, not even being able to go into defense mode and being the most common extra deck monster type, her effect is not going to be too advantageous, but she is another diversification in names. And then we have Lumina, who actually is not in here just for name diversification. She's also in here because I personally like her effect. You do have to normal summon her, but once per turn, you can discard 1 card to target a level 4 or lower Lightsworn monster in your graveyard, and special summon that target. So you discard a card to special summon a card, but Felis and Wolf cannot be normal summoned, so once when they are in your hand, they are basically useless. But using her effect, you can as long as you have a Lightsworn monster in your graveyard that's level 4 or lower, which the only one that's not in the deck is Celestia, you can toss a Wolf, special summon the Wolf that you tossed, because discarding is a caw, so is the targeting. So you can't really do that, but you can discard and then special summon. So you can discard a Wolf to special summon something else out that would be more useful. Minerva, only problem with Minerva is she, again, is a normal summon. She does have an effect upon normal summon, but we are not running enough diversification in names to hunt down Judgment Dragon. So her effect is kind of useless on summon. But The reason why you do run her is because if she is milled from your deck, her effect will activate, milling one more additional card. This is exceptionally useful for trying to dig deeper into your deck to try to get to Wolf or Felis. So on our spell cards, you have Solar Recharge, discard a Lightsworn, draw 2, then mill 2. You're trying to dig for Judgment Dragon, and hopefully you don't do what I do all the time, and draw into Wolves, and discard, or mill, my Judgment Dragons. Reinforcement of the Army is a card that you can choose to take out if you wish, but it does allow you to deck thin, because you can search for any of your warrior monsters to get them out of the deck to increase your chances of milling the cards you want to mill. We've already talked about terraforming. Monster Reincarnation is in here because you can get rid of your wolves to bring back your Judgment Dragons that you have milled. You could play this at a higher number. I chose not to, because this deck can be played at higher than 40. I just chose to try to keep it at 40. Foolish Burial basically allows you to tutor any of your monsters you want into the graveyard, so you can get any of them back except Felis, because again, only monster effects. Next up, we will have our Charge of the Light Brigade, where you can send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard to add a level 4 lower Lightsworn monster. So you can try to mill to get to your wolves, and then add something like Raiden, Lila, or anything that you don't want to mill. I typically go for Lumina, because then I can bring back stuff that's in my graveyard, or I go for Raiden to try to start my plays of milling. Next up, we do have Realm of Light. This is not a common card to be played, and I thought about cutting it multiple times for other cards, but I did like the fact that each time a card or cards is sent from your deck to the graveyard, you place a shine counter on it. Put a counter. All Lightsworn monsters gain 100 attack for each counter on this card. And if it would be destroyed by a card effect, you can remove 2 counters instead. But basically, you're going to be milling and milling, so if you can open this or open the terraforming to go get it, you can proceed to just start doing your mill plays, and you're going to see your little monsters gain attack. And I just realized we jumped a card while I was talking. So, Shire. Forgot her. She is more name diversification, type diversification. She doesn't have any effects that's super amazing, but she does gain 300 attack for each Lightsworn monster with a different name in your graveyard, so she works well with the diversification of names that we do have. And she is a level 3, so if you get her and Felis, you can go into Crystal Wing that way as well. So, what about our extra deck monsters? Well, as I've already said with Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, he's there to wipe the board in case they have special summoned a huge board. Omega can rip a card out of your hand. Michael's great for spot removal. Utopia can help you get over monsters or seal out a game when needed. Tornado Dragon to deal with spell and trap cards. Babushka is one of your few good opening first turn plays because he can make everything in defense mode. Silent Honor Arc to deal with threats that can't be destroyed. Castell for a similar reason. Minerva because she is absolutely amazing and you want to go into her as much as possible. Because you detach a card to mill your top 3, then draw cards equal to the number of Lightsworns, and when she is destroyed, you mill the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. You can destroy cards on the field equal to the number of Lightsworn cards sent to the graveyard by that effect. Gaga Cowboy, because you can Gaga Cowboy for game, by putting him in defense position, detach to inflict 800. Curious is a Link 3. He's kind of a pain to go through in this particular build, but he is completely worth going into because of the advantage he generates. When he is Link summoned, you basically get to Foolish Burial, send 1 card from your deck to the graveyard instead of just a monster, but you're always going to want to send either Felis or Wolf. I kind of like sending Felis because of her own limitations. He also has another effect that when a card is sent from your deck to the graveyard, you can mill 3 more additional cards, including when he is Link summoned, helping you dig to help you special summon to go into a rank 4 or a level 8 synchro. Hip Potion again, or Hyperstar, is a generic light Link monster to help you kind of go into other plays if you only can get 4 monsters on your board, and he increases the attack and defense of all light monsters by 500 to help you with the beatdown version of this deck, and as a plus, if he is destroyed, you get to add a light monster back to your hand. That can help you kind of recycle any resources that you might want to recycle such as Raiden, or if there's a spell trap giving you problems, you can get back Lila, or you can get Lumina, and then use Lumina's effect to bring something else back. There's a lot of little advantage there. Also, of course, you can bring back your Judgment Dragons from your graveyard to special summon them and devastate your opponents. So that is the deck. I know this is not the typical meta style of Lightsworns and isn't exactly the most competitive of builds overall. It's probably middle of the road at best in most people's eyes. I wanted to go pure Lightsworns though, some clowns, because I see this deck all the time just being a Chaos Turbo. And I do like the Chaos Turbo build. I'm thinking sometime I will come back to Lightsworns and do a more Chaos Sworn build, maybe even try out the Twilight Sworns. But I wanted to see what I could do without relying on zombie engines or going into Chaos or using Glow Up Bloom or anything like that. Although those are all great cards, those are great builds. If you're wanting to play Lightsworns on a higher level than what you see here, those are things to check out. Check out, Chaos Sworns, Zombie Minerva, all of those builds. They are great, amazing builds that have seen much better play than what my little build has here. But that aside, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next episode of Let's Build. Go out, play some cards, have fun, all of that jazz. See ya.